just in general, it's really interesting. We've been in this, ecosystem doing the 800-171 thing for, north of 8 years now, right? Since 2016. And there is still such a lack of knowledge in the general business ecosystem about this requirement. One conversation I was having at a conference this week with a lot of business investors, and just trying to explain to them, the whole CMMC ecosystem. And, they didn't realize that, for example, educational institutions were considered part of this ecosystem. And so I started explaining, research R1 universities and, how they have research networks and they have the general administrative networks. And then we can get into this later, but, the whole new Department of Education 800-171 rule that's now out there, and how that, they were just dumbfounded that, universities were about to get hit by this. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about, the CCP on the Quad report a little bit later as well. But it's just still a general lack of information in the entire business ecosystem about what is about to happen and how this is going to affect not just defense contractors, but how it's going to affect commerce and business in the United States, period, full stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
it was some really, really interesting conversations. And, if you're listening to this podcast, or if you're listening to this, this session today, you're obviously on the front end of that conversation. You know what's going on. But wow, it's really going to be a huge sea change within the business community overall in the United States.